You're live.
Thank you. Hello and welcome to the YBMB show. It's Wednesday, and so as you know, those of you who watch, and there's a number of you now, we talk about mindset on a Wednesday. Mondays we talk about body, and Fridays business. And the reason I cover those three is because, as you probably know, the premise of YBMB is that in fact, I've just had a radio slot, just literally come off the radio talking on BBC Radio about the fact that the stats for women in their 60s being unemployed has just rocketed. Apparently, last time they did the stats, this time last year or just prior to COVID, 7,000 unemployed women in their 60s. And now it's 21,000. So it's trebled. And they were asking the question of, firstly, why? And secondly, how can older females get a new job, and why are they unemployed? And so obviously that was something that very much I was able to address, bearing in mind the program. And I reiterated to them the premise of this program, YBMB, Your Body Means Business, is that one would think that in order to achieve what you want, and I used to think this as well, whether that is business, whether that's getting a new job, whatever it is, outside to yourself, then the answer is, the strategy is find out the best way to do it on Google, go on a load of courses that tell you about business strategies, and then sit there in front of your laptop, sort of just applying for loads of jobs or looking at spreadsheets and basically just trying to do more of the same. And I discovered myself, and I know this through so many of my own clients now, that is not the answer. That's one answer. But it's pointless to do that if you are physically not strong and energetic, and you therefore can't sort of keep up with the pace of basically work that is necessary for success because you're too tired. And also, if you don't have the confident mindset that you need to be able to be resilient and have, lots and lots of obstacles and challenges to overcome, because that is just part of business and it's part of life. And if you're not mentally strong to cope with these things, it can really, really set you back. Every single hurdle can set you back, and then you go back to sort of square one. So my premise with this program is get your body strong. That in turn really helps you with your mindset. And then once you've got those two fundamental layers in place, you're really, really well positioned, best positioned to then do all those things that naturally we'd revert to, like going on business courses, like doing more sales calls, and like doing more analysis and all of that. But you've got to have the fundamentals in place in order to have that level of output to succeed in business and in your job, and financially and in life. So we're talking about mindset today, and so I wanted to share with you one of the things that we teach on the program, and something that has really helped me, and it helps me every single day, and it's a go-to for me when I'm advising people as well. And that is the subject of primary questions. And I'll explain this a little bit more. When we are thinking, day to day to ourselves, and we may think that we don't think, we may think that, wow, 2 hours has gone by and I've been so busy. But basically what's happening in here is it is a constant cycle of questions and answers, questions and answers. How can I do this? Brain gives us an answer. Why did she just say that? Brain gives us an answer. Or do I like that top she's wearing? What do I think of her hair? Brain gives us an answer. So those are sort of just general chit chats that go on, but we have thousands and thousands of thoughts in our mind, but these thoughts boil down to a dialogue, questions and answers. And so if you accept that premise, and it is true, then the natural conclusion would be, okay, so the way that we feel boils down to the questions that we ask. Because if you ask a question of, why is this not working? Your brain is very, very obliging and gives the answer. Why can I not do this? Why did that just happen? Your brain gives you an answer. And always it will give you an answer which, it protects you. So if you're saying to, why can I not get more job interviews? The brain will just say, because, you're not going to be able to pass them. Or it's someone else's fault. It will just give answers to you, as opposed to more positive questions, which are, how can I get more interviews? the brain then will give you an answer. Well, what you could do is you could go on LinkedIn and you could see if there's more jobs, or you could ask all your friends on Facebook. So the quality of the question is really going to drive your life. And even more importantly, the quality of questions you ask yourself is going to dictate how you feel. Because one of the things that I learned from Tony Robbins many years ago now, and it's so true, is that the quality of your life boils down to the quality of your emotions. And the quality of your emotions, how you're feeling, boils down to the quality of the questions. So if you're asking yourself, unconsciously, why am I not good enough? Why can't I do this? Why did that not work? Why can't I lose weight? Why did I not get that job? Your brain is just going to give you these answers that say, well, because you like eating too much, or it's too hard for you, or you're just too old, or you're not clever enough, or unfortunately we talk to ourselves much worse than we ever would to anybody else. Even our worst enemy we wouldn't say some of these things to, and yet we say it to ourselves. And so when we give ourselves those answers, it makes us feel not great. And if you don't feel great, then the quality of your life's not so great, because you're not thinking great thoughts. So it all boils down to questions and asking yourself good primary questions. So what can these questions be? Well, I sort of did touch on it, which is, instead of asking the why questions, which we default to often, we often say why this and why that. Instead of asking the why questions, ask the how questions. So how can I drive this forward? How can I move this forward is a question that I ask myself all the time. It's a brilliant question for focusing forward. How can I improve in this area? How could I change this? How could I achieve more of this? How could I have less of this? So the how questions really help you to come up with some answers of how you might want to change things or improve things, or get rid of things that you just don't want to happen. So the how questions are great. Other questions are the who questions. Who could I ask about this? Who could help me with this? Who could I give more love and attention and care to? Who could really benefit from my help right now? So who questions will really be very, very positive as well. The what questions are good. What else could I do in this situation? What else is there to be done? What else can I ask? What else can I say in this particular situation? So the what questions are really very useful. The why questions, not so useful. They will tend to take you down a route of blame. And, a route of blame sort of is very unproductive. It takes things out of your control, and, you just sort of don't get anywhere really. So I've had a couple of really good examples of that this week, where, challenges have sort of presented themselves, and you sort of feel, for me, I get pissed off when things don't go quite the way that I want them to. And you could sort of, in fact, you do, and I do. You before you know it, if you're not being conscious, you go back into the why did this happen? Why has that not worked? The why questions. They're so negative, and it really puts you on a downward spiral. We know that, one of the first strategies to feeling better and moving forward is to move your body. So I'm very good at that, because, I train and I walk, and that's embedded in my nature. But the mind is the second thing, and your story about yourself and the questions that you ask are just as powerful and just as important. And so this is the mindset piece. So asking the how questions, and how can I drive this forward, and what else can I do in this area, again, just this week I've got some great examples of how that really has changed and enabled me to overcome some pretty key challenges. Not key in terms of life-changing challenges, but challenges that we get in business and in life, week in and week out, if we're trying to get a lot done. So think about your primary question. Think about it for a moment. If you could pick a good question to ask yourself in any situation, what might that be? One of the things that I give to the people on the program, the YBMB program, is a big sheet of potential primary questions that they can choose from, or they may, just pick out one for themselves. And it needs to be a recurring question. And once you've picked one and you think, what, that's really going to help me, that's going to help me find the right answers every day. The thing then is, because we forget, all of this old behavior is embedded over so many years. It's so strong. It's such a habit that it's impossible to replace the negative questions overnight. You can do things to help yourself. And as James Clear says in Atomic Habits, you can ingrain a new habit when you do it repetitively over a month or so. So the way to do it is to pick a primary question and then to put this question into your alarm so it keeps popping up for you. So if you put it on your iPhone and you set it 3 or 4 times a day, it will pop up and it will ask you, how can I move this forward, or whatever your question is. The other thing to do is to incorporate it in your morning routine. I've spoken a lot about morning routines. Absolutely critical for setting you up for the day so that you don't just have your strings pulled by everybody else and find yourself exhausted at the end of the day, having not really achieved what you wanted to. So, having it in the morning as part of your routine where you think about, a bit of meditation, you think about your affirmations, you do your visioning, you have some reading, and then after that, you do some of your journaling. And your journaling can be about your questions, asking these positive questions and writing down some of the answers. It sets you up for the day before you get going. So that's it on primary questions. We cover a lot on primary questions, and I bring people back to it periodically through the program. The program runs for a season. We have many people coming back season after season, to achieve these phenomenal results that you see. And so much of what you see is obviously just one dimension. It's only what goes on the outside. What you don't see is what goes on in the inside. And I've got a lovely, for our 100th episode, I've got a lovely interview lined up with a very special client of ours who's going to tell you some of the amazing things that have happened with her, because you can see on the outside and you'll be amazed at her transformation, but from the inside as well. But primary questions is key. So if you've not heard of the concept before, then, I'm glad to be bringing it to you now. Think about primary questions. If you want to find out more, we're doing some free coaching calls. You can come on a discovery call if you click on the link, which will pop up with this. And you can get it on our website as well, yourbodymeansbusiness.com. And you can book a free coaching call. And part of that is we can ask you about your primary questions. So feel free to do that as well. Lovely talking to you today. It's not a very long one, but I hope it was useful. Primary questions, think about what they are and start asking them to yourself. You'll be amazed at the transformation of your mood and then what you achieve. Okay, well, lovely to talk to you. And